हेलो फ्रेंड्स, हम अपनी आई हिस्ट्री की PYQs को पढ़ रहे थे। अब आगे के क्वेश्चंस को कंटिन्यू करते हैं। हम वैदिक एज के थोड़े से शॉर्ट्स नोट्स थे, उसको पढ़ा। क्वेश्चन 15 तक पढ़ लिया था, 15 के आगे से पढ़ना है। क्वेश्चन 15, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग्स इज द संहितास ऑफ शुक्ल यजुर्वेदास? ए वजशनामी। There are two branches of Yajurvedas, Shukla Yajurvedas, Krishna Yajurvedas. Vajashanei is a Samhita of Shukla Yajurvedas. Shukla Yajurveda is available only in the poetic forms, where Krishna Yajurvedas contain both poetic and as well as prose form. So friends, क्वेश्चन 15 हो गया। तो फ्रेंड्स, एक बात कहनी है कि मैंने जितने भी हिस्ट्री की वीडियोस बना रखी है, सारी एक अलग प्लेलिस्ट बना रखा है। और मैं पॉलिटी की भी एक अलग प्लेलिस्ट बना दी है, जिसमें आज एक वीडियो अपलोड की है, उसको भी आप देख सकते हैं। क्वेश्चन 16, विच मंडला ऑफ ऋग्वेदा इज कम्प्लीटली डेडिकेटेड टू सोमा? शो 9th मंडलास is dedicated to the Somas. The Rig Vedas is the oldest Veda. सबसे पुराना Vedas Rig Vedas. It comprises 10 mandals. The 9th mandal of the Rig Vedas comprises 114 hymns dedicated to Soma. The 9th mandala of Rig Veda is devoted to holy Indra and his elephants, Urvashi and the heavens, gods related to plants and drug, Shoma, the gods whose named after the drinks. So options B होगा Shoma, और जो कि 9th मंडला ऑफ ऋग्वेदास टोटली डिवेटेड है शोमा के लिए। इसका एक्सप्लेनेशन अभी हमने पढ़ा। राइट and the rituals related to yajnas are mentioned in Rig Veda, Sam Vedas and Brahmin Granthas and Yajurvedas. So option D. Yajurveda is a Sanskrit means wisdoms of sacrificial formulas. The Vedas compiled a centuries of two after the Rig Vedas contain prose and verses formulas that were to be propounded by the priest performing the manual part of the sacrifice. It describes in prose about the procedural details of performing different rituals and yajnas using the hymns of the right Rig Vedas. The Samhitas of Yajurvedas are divided into two parts, Shukla or white Yajurvedas and Krishna's or black Yajurvedas. The compilations of which among the following is based upon the Rig Vedas? The compilation of which among the following is based upon the Rig Vedas? Yajurvedas, Sam Vedas, Atharva Vedas, and none of the B. Sham Vedas. The Sam Veda is assorted among all four Vedas. It is closely connected with the Rig Vedas. It has taken many verses from the Rig Vedas. The Sam Veda is compiled inclusive for ritual applications, and all of its verses are meant to be chanted in ceremonies. Sam Veda's Samhitas consist totals of 1875 verses. Among these, expect 75 or 99 verses. All of them are compiled in Rig Vedas. 20. The earliest evidence of the use of irons in India has been discovered from Takshilas Atranjikhera's Kaushambi Hastinapur. So option B, Atranjikhera is the prehistoric and historic excavated archaeological site on the bank of Kali rivers, tributaries of Ganga. The site was first identified by Sir Alexander Cunningham in his survey report in 1861-62, but excavated by R.C. Gore. A trial trench put in 1962 was followed in the next year by diggings and small scales. Regular excavation was started in 1964. The earliest evidence of iron used in the regions dates back around 10,000 BC. Atranjikheras. The earliest evidence of the use of iron in India has been discovered from Atranjikheras. Option B. When did the use of iron begins in the Indian subcontinent? Around 900 years ago, around 12,000, 9,000 years ago, around 12,000 years ago, around 6,000 years ago, more than one of the above. Option E, none of the above. The history of the early iron smelting practices by the tribal artisans in different regions of the ancient India dates back 1300 to 1200 BC. Most of the archaeological accepts around 1000 BC as start of Iron Age in subcontinent. So earliest use of irons in Indian subcontinent can be placed around 3000s ago. Hence option E, none of the above is correct. Upanishads are a book on philosophy. The Upanishad literature is not a religious scripture, but represent a philosophy for all times and for all. The philosophy of Upanishad does not oppose any school of thought, religions or interpretations of the scriptures, but its methods for explaining its concept is unique. Upanishad means pupils sit near the teachers to learn from him about the secret of doctrines. The Upanishad's literature is not a religious scripture but represent the philosophy. So इसका ऑप्शन डी होगा philosophy. The main theme of Upanishads: social structure, philosophies, laws and states. So option B, philosophy. Which one of the following Vedic literature talks about salvations? Upanishads. The word salvations or mokshas is not used in Vedas. It was first discussed in Upanishad. Mokshas means liberation. The continuous cycles of life and death is not the actual aim of the human soul. According to the Upanishad, the core of our soul is not the body or the mind, but the Atma, soul. The famous dialogue between Nachiketas and Yama is mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogopad Upanishad, Katho Upanishad, Keno Upanishads. So Katho Upanishad is the story of the conversation between the Yama, Lord of Death, and Nachiketas, the young 12-year-old boy who left home in search of meanings of death and beyond. The form the subject matter of the Upanishads called Katha Upanishad and Katho Upanishads. Nachiketas legends finds mentions Katho Upanishads. Kings Ashwapatis of the Upanishad period was the ruler of Kashi, Ketaya, Panchala, Videha. The kings Ashwapatis of the Upanishadic period was the ruler of Kekaya. The Upanishad state that some Kshatriya kings who were great scholars and philosophers also imparted knowledge to Brahmins. Some of them were kings of Videha, kings Pravanja, Vahanjabalis of Panchal, kings Ashwapati of Kekaya, and kings Ajasatru of Kasi. Ashwapati was a Kshatriya king. He was well known as a learned teacher of the age. The Kekaya kingdoms was situated on the bank of river Vyas east of Gandhara kingdoms. King Ashwapati's ruled Kekaya when Janak was the king of Vidya. Which of the following is the correct order of Vedic literature? Vedic, Shamhita, Brahmanas, Aryankas, Upanishads. Vedic, Shamhitas, Brahmanas, Aryankas, Upanishads. Vedic, Shamhitas, Upanishad, Aryankas, Brahmanas. Vedic, Samhitas, Aryankas, Brahmanas, Upanishad. Vedic, Samhitas, Vedangas, Aryankas. Vedic, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aryankas. Vedic, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aryankas, Upanishads. Each of the Vedas is divided into 4 parts or 10 sections. The correct order of them is Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aryankas, and Upanishads. Samhitas and Brahmanas form the Karma Kanda segments of the Vedas. Aryankas and Upanishads from the Gyan Kandas segments of the Vedas. The explicitly focus on the philosophy and the spirituals. The river mentioned most in the early Vedic literature is Sindhu, Sutudri, Saraswati's, Ganga's, Sindhu. Sindhu river is the most important river during the Vedic periods. That is why it mentions the most of the times in the Rig Vedas. Sindhu river is due to its economic importance was Hiranyai, and its place of termination is in Arabian Sea. Saraswati river was the most pious river of Rig Vedic Aryans called the Naditama. Vedic river Ashkini is identified which one of the following river Chenab. Vedic river Ashkini is identified with the present day river named Chenab, also popularly known as Chandrabhaga. The rivers Chenab originated from Tandi in Lahore, Spiti, where 2 rivulets named Chandra and Bhagas met to form the rivers. Which of the following river mentioned in the Rig Vedas indicate the relations of Aryans with Afghanistan? Kubha and Karamu. River mentioned in the Rig Vedas, namely Kubha, Kabul, and Karamu, Kurrams. Gomti, Gomal, and Shuvashtu Shwat were flowing through Afghanistan, which indicate that there were the deep relations of Aryans with the countries. The Vedic river Kubha was located in Afghanistan. Match list 1 and the list 2 and choose the correct answer from the code of given below. Rivers, Vedic rivers and modern names. तो कुभा काबुल अभी हमने पढ़ा था का अफगानिस्तान में. परशुनी रावी रूपर है. सदनीरा गंडक. सुतुद्री सतलज. So rivers given in the option is correctly matched with the modern names Kuba, Kabul, Parushuni, Ravi, San, the Niras, Kandak, and Sutudri, Satlaj. In the period of Mahabharata, the name of Mahanadi was Kaveri, Tapti, Mahanandas, Gangas, none of these. So options E, none of these. The names Mahanadi during the period of Mahabharata was Chitropalas in the Bhimsha Bhishma Parv of Mahabharata. The Chitropalas rivers is praised as Punayadayani and Papshinnashinis. Indian people drank the water of Chitropalas. This fact is proved by the following verses of Mahabharata. Chitrotpala Chitrantha Manjula Vahini Mandakini Vaitarini Kosha Chapi Mahanadims. The Mahanadi has been called Chitrotpala's Ganga is in the Mahoba copper plate of Someshwar Dev. 35. As per the Vayu Purans, what is the mythological name of Mahanadi? Mythological names of Mahanadi rivers. Nilotpala. In the Vayu Purans, the mythological names of Mahanadi river is Nilotapalas. In the Matsya Purans, Mahanadi is stated as Chitropalas. So नीलोत्पालास तो हम वायु पुराण में कहते हैं और मत्स्य पुराण में चित्रोत्पाला. वायु पुराण में नीलो और मत्स्य पुराण में चित्रोत्पाला. Which of the following customs emerged during the post-Vedic period? Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprastha, Sannyas, Indra, Surya, Rudra, and Maruta. According to the ancient Hindu scripture, the post-Vedic period, the Hindu tradition recognized as four stages. Four stages are the ashrama of human life: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprastha, and Sannyas, and the four Purusharth, namely Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. So post Vedic period में था तो धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष ए एंड सी. तो फर्स्ट ए धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष एंड सी में ब्रह्मचर्य गृहस्थ वानप्रस्थ संन्यास. So option A and C both are correct. Question 37 is the Dharma and the Rita depict a central idea of the ancient Vedic civilization of India. In the context, consider the following statements. Dharma was the conceptions of obligations and discharge of one's duties to oneself and to other. Ritas was a fundamental moral laws governing the functionings of the universe and all it contains. Which of the following statements given above is correct? So both Dharma was the conceptions and obligations of discharge one's duty to oneself to other, and Rita is a fundamental law of moral law governing universe and all its contain governings the functioning of the universe and all it contained. The Dharma and the Rita in the Vedic period appeared as early as Rig Vedas. Usually Dharma signifies cosmic ordinance, often in the connections with the sense of a natural or divine law. Rita such as closely related to universe harmony, in which all things in the world have a proper place and function. So term Rita means impersonal law, while Dharma categorizes those personal actions that engenders or maintain the cosmic order. Thus the correct answer is C. In the context of Indian culture, it means natural laws. The concept of rit, that is universal principle of natural orders, is the Vedic origins. The rit has been the basis of Indian culture's legal theory, politics, and philosophies. God Varuna was supposed to uphold rit or the natural order. That is why he was also called the Ritas Gopas. Among the following Vedic deities was believed to be their priest. Among the following Vedic deities was believed to be their priest: Agni, Vrihaspatis, Deus, and Indra. Vrihaspatis. Vrihaspatis is also known as Deva Gurus, teachers or priest of the gods. Is the gurus of the Devas. Who among the following deities was believed to be the priest: Agni, Vrihaspatis, Yashu, Indra. Vrihaspati is also known as Deva Guru, teacher or a priest, is the guru of the Devas gods. Who among the following was the Brahma Vadinis who composed some hymns of the Vedas? Lopamudras, Gargi, Lilavati, and Savitri. So Lopamudra. Who among the following was Brahmavadinis who composed some hymns of the Vedas? A. Many hymns of the Rig Vedas were composed by the humans, and there were the Brahmavadinis. The prominents among them were the Lopamudras and Vishwaras, Shiktas, Nivadis, and Ghoshas. Lopamudras was the wife of Agastya Rishi sage. Who among the following was the Brahmavadini who composed the some hymns of the Vedas? Lopamudras. During the Vedic periods, the word Nishka was used for jewelries, but in later period it was used for the meanings of arms, farming equipment, scripts, coin. Nishka. So coins. During the Vedic periods, the gold necklace was called Nishkas Griva, but later on word Nishka got associated with the gold coins. During the Vedic periods, Nishka was an ornament of ear, neck, arms, wrist, neck. Gold necklace. During the Vedic period, Nishkas was an ornament of neck, not ear, not arm, not wrist, neck. Nishka is in ancient Indians was known as gold ornaments, copper coins, cows, silver coins, to gold ornaments. Bhogaj Koi is important because it was an important trading center between the Central Asians and Tibetans. Inscriptions were found which mentions the names of the Vedic gods and goddesses. Original text of the Vedas were composed here, none of the above. Bhogaj Koi inscription, Asia's Minor Turkey is important because there is a mention of four Vedic gods, namely Indra, Varuna, and Mitra. 45. Which of the following inscriptions tells about Aryans movements of the Aryans from Iran to India's? Bhogaj Koi. Bhogaj Koi inscriptions, Asian Minor Turkey is important because There is mention in 4 Vedic gods, namely Indra, Varuna, Mitra, Nasaksh. So, which of the following inscriptions tells about the Aryan's movements of Aryan from Iran to India's to Bhaj? Option C. An inscription of 14th century BC, which describe the Vedic gods, has been found in an inscription of 14th centuries BC, which describe Vedic gods, has been found. Bhaj inscription, which mention 4 Vedics, namely Indra, Varunas, Mitra, and Nasatse, is a 14th century BC inscription. 47. Who among the following wrote on the original homelands of the Aryan? Bal Gangadhar Tilaks. Among the following wrote the original homelands of the Aryans to Bal Gangadhar Tilaks in his books The Arctic Homes in the Vedas propound the theory of the North Pole Arctic regions was original homes of Aryans, but this theory of Tilak is not acceptable by the historians. The name of the scriptures in the Purusha Medha was mentioned: Krishna Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda, Satpat Brahmanas, and Panchavish Brahmanas. Purusha Medhas has been mentioned in Satpat Brahmanas of Shukla Yajurvedas, Purusha Medhas has been mentioned in Satpat Brahmanas of Shukla Yajurvedas and Taittiriya Brahmanas of Krishna's Yajurvedas. No answer can be given. All three are present in the given option. However, many historians discussed Purush Medhas yojans while discussing Satpat's Brahmanas only. The priest associated with the king Videga Madhavas referred in the Satapatha Brahmanas: Rishi Bharadwaja, Rishi Vasishtha, Rishi Vishwamitra, and Rishi Gautam Rahugana. The priest associated with the kings Videgas Madhavas referred in the Satapatha Brahmanas was Rishi Gautam Rahuganas. It is believed that the Saraswati was the scene of the activities of the famous Vedic tribes, the Bharatas, the Purush, and the Kurush. The Satpatas Brahmanas narrates the story of kings Videgas Madhavas, the king of Vidyas, accompanied by his priest Rishi Gautamas Rahuganas, carrying the sacred fire to east, preserving thereby the traditions that the Koshalas and the Vidyas received from their cultures. The post-Vedic periods, which was considered as axis of Aryan culture. The post-Vedic periods, which was considered as axis of the Aryan culture, Kuru Panchas. In the post-Vedic periods, the regions of Kuru Panchal was considered as the axis of the Aryan culture because here the great achievements happened in science, mathematics, astronomy, religious, and philosophy. The word Gotras occurred for the first times Rig Vedas, as the terms Gotra means cow shelters or the herd of cows. The specific meanings family, village, kings, as it were herds within an enclosure, is relatives more recent, first recorded around the post-Vedic periods. The religions of the early Vedic Aryans was primarily of worship of nature and yajanas. The religions of early Vedic Aryans was mainly related to worship of the natures and performing of yajnas. The Aryans in the early Vedic period described life as manifestations of nature. Worship of different forces of nature formed a part of their religious belief. They believed that some divine powers work behind the objects of nature such as fire, water, wind, etc. In the Rigvedic periods, people believed mainly in idol worship, one god belief, goddess worship, sacrifices and rituals. In the Rigvedic periods, people believed mainly in sacrifice and rituals. Sacrifice or yajnas was the central features of Rigvedic religions. Domestic sacrifice was the general rules. Community sacrifice offered by the kings were the grand festivals. It believed that gods were pleased by the yajnas or sacrifice. Famous battle Ten King was fought on the bank of the Parushuni. Famous battles of Ten Kings fought on the bank of the river Parushni. There is an ancient story mentioned in the Rig Vedas called the Srajanya or Battle of Ten Kings on the bank of Parushni river. There lived a descendant of India's eponymous kings Bharata's name Sudas. The greatest achievement of Sudas was thumping victories over confederacies of Ten Kings. The famous battle of Ten Kings was fought on the bank of the river Parushni. The famous battle of Ten Kings, as described in the Rig Vedas, was fought on the bank of Parushni. Which of the following river among the following refer Mate Tamas, Devi Tamas and Nandi Tamas of the Rig Vedas? Saraswati river was considered the most pious and respected rivers during the Saraswati's rivers was considered as most pious and respected river during the Rigvedic period. The Rig Vedas Saraswati is referred as Mate Tama, Devi Tama and Nadi Tamas, means best of all mothers, best of all goddesses and the best of all river respected. Give the names of the tribes which is not related to the Panchjana of the Rig Vedas Aryans. Give the name of the tribes which is not related to Panchjamas of the Rig Vedas Aryans. Yadu, Purusha, Kikat. Panchjanas suggested 5 specific tribes whose eponymous ancestors were the founders of the clans, namely Yadus, Turvasha, Thruhaya, Anu and Puru. Kikat was among them. In the ancient periods, chief livelihood source of Aryans was agriculture. In the ancient period, chief livelihood source of the Aryans was agriculture, hunting, art, craft, business. In the ancient times, the Aryans were dependent on the agriculture and hunting for the livelihoods. The word Yava mentioned in the Rig Vedas is used for which agriculture products? Barley. The word Yava mentioned in the Rig Vedas is used for the food grain barley. Hence option A is correct. The word Yava mentioned in the Rig Vedas is used for which agriculture products? Barley. The word Yava mentioned in the Rig Vedas is used for the foods grains barley. Hence option A is correct. Virihi Mudgas Yava Ikash. Virihi, rice, mudga, mung bean, yava, millet, sugarcane. Virihi, rice, mudda, mung bean, yava, millet, ikshu, sugarcane. Virihi, rice, mudda, mung beans, yava, millets, ikshu, sugarcane. Virihi, rice, mudda, mung beans, ikshu, sugarcanes, yava, millet. The Rigvedic Pani belongs to which class of the citizens? Priests, goldsmiths, ironsmiths, traders. Pani during the Rigvedic periods class traders. The system of the governance prevalent in the Vedic era was descendant monarchy. Most popular and prevalent system of governance during the Vedic era was descendants monarchy, although some examples of the elections by the peoples were also found, but the general interest of the public was towards monarchy. The system of the governance prevalent in the Vedic eras was descendants monarchy. Most popular and prevalent system of the governance during the Vedic era was descendant monarchy, although some examples of the elections by the peoples were also found, but the general interest of the public was toward the monarchy. Sabha or Vedic eras was an institution of mercantile people of the village, was a royal courts, was council minister, national assembly of all the peoples of the state. Sabha of the Vedic eras was the council of the minister. During the Vedic eras, the two institutions, namely Sabha and Samiti, has been mentioned as controlling power upon the autocracy of the kings. The Sabha was assemblies of lords and the elite ones, while the Samiti was assembly of the common people in the states. In which of the Vedas Sabha Samiti are called as a two daughter Atharva Veda. The clear distinction between the Sabha and Samiti cannot be made, but it is clear that Sabha and Samiti were mentioned in the Atharva Vedas as the two daughters of the Prajapatis. Question 65. The Rigvedic tribal assemblies associated with the judicial functions, Sabha, Shamiti, Vidhatas, and all of these. The Rigvedic tribal assemblies associated with the Sabha. Several tribals on plans assemblies such as Sabha, Samiti, Vidhatas are mentioned in the Rig Veda. Amongst them, Sabha was associated with the judicial functions. Sabha is mentioned 8 times in the Rig Vedas. Sabha and Samitis are mentioned are the two daughters of Prajapatis in Atharva Vedas. Which office was known as Bhagavatas during the Vedic administration? Chief officers of gamblings department, revenue collectors, messengers, chief officers of forest, revenue collectors. Bhagavatas was associated with the revenue administration in Vedic administration. Ayurvedas, that is science of life, appeared first. Aryankas, Samveda, Yajurvedas, Atharva Vedas. Ayurveda, that is science of life, appears first in Atharva Vedas. Ayurvedas is Upavedas of Atharva Vedas. It describes the thoughts and superstitions of the common peoples. It comprises of the various contents such as diseases, prevention, coordination, loyalty, marriage, and love poetry. Ayurveda, that is science of life, appeared first in the Atharvavedas. Ayurveda is Upavedas of Atharvavedas. It describes the thoughts, superstitions of the common peoples. It comprises the various contents such as disease preventions, coordinations, loyalty, marriage, and love poetries. Rig Vedic religions was polytheistics, monolistics, monistics, liberalistic, polytheistics. Rig Vedic religions was polytheistic. The most interesting aspect of the Rig Vedic religion was its polytheistic characters, in which a number of gods were worshipped. The Rig Vedic Aryan worshipped nature with the intense feelings and endows with animated souls. Vedic gods were mainly classified into three groups: god of sky, Varuna, Mitra, Surya, Vishnu, etc. God of space, Indra, Rudra. God of earth, Agni, Brihaspati, Soma. Whenever these Vedic saints worships any gods, they considered him to be the supreme god. This is known as Ikayavad. Other than this, in Rig Vedas, Ikeshwaravad is supported by saying Ikshat Vipra Bahuda Padanti. Ikeshwarvad of Rig Vedas included vision of Adartvad, Sarvatvatvads, and Bahudetvads, but the concept of one supreme god of Vedas is different from the modern Iswarvad. A large number of the Rig Vedic hymns are devoted to Agni, Indra, Rudra, Vishnu. Show Indra. A large number of Rig Vedic hymns are devoted to Indra. Indra has been described the most powerful deities in the Rig Vedic. Indra is most important divinity in the Rig Vedic. A large number of Rig Veda hymns, as a maximum 250 hymns, are devoted to hymns, followed by Agni 200 hymns. Indra, the god of sky, Varuna, Mitra, Surya, Vishnu, and god of space, Indra, Rudra, Duroi, god of space. So, who among the following is regarded as a war of God in the Rig Vedas? Regarded as a war god in Rig Vedas. B. Indra. In Rig Vedas, maximum number of hymns are devoted to god Indra. He was the storm gods and referred to as the sky gods and the god of wars. The Vedas describe Indra as a god who wields the thunderbolts. The largest hymns of Rig Vedas is dedicated to the Vedic gods Indra. The largest number of hymns in the Rig Vedas belongs to Agni. इसमें इंद्र दिया नहीं है. The largest number of hymns Rig Vedas belongs to the god of Indra, but the present questions in the absence of Indra choose Agni is the second largest. So Agni is 200. Indra के बाद Agni is. The largest number of hymns in the Rig Vedas belongs to Agni is the second largest. 73. Study of the following statements about the Vedic gods of Indra and selected the correct answers from the quotes given below. War of gods of thunders, punish sinners, was the guardians of the moral orders, was the god of rains. D. First and fourth. Was the god of thunders, was the god of rains. In Vedas, Indra is the kings and deva of Savarga heavens. He is the god of heavens, lightning, thunder, and rains. Guardian of the morals order, it was Lord Varuna's. Some hymns are prayers to God Indra for punishing the sinners, but in the absence of the option first, second, fourth, we choose first and fourth. Who among the following was the most popular god in the early Vedic alliance? Indra. Who of the following was considered as a war of god in the Vedic period? To Indra. 800 BC to 600 BC is related 800 BC to 600 BC is related to which eras? Brahmin eras. 800 BC to 600 BC is related to Brahmin eras, often period during the 7th centuries BC or 6th centuries BC to 3rd century BC is called Sutra periods. Gayatri mantra is found in Rig Vedas. Gayatri mantra was written in Sanskrit in the Rig Vedas of Brahmarshi Vishwamitra. Its meanings: may the Almighty God illuminates our intellects, leads us amongst righteous paths. The mantras famous with the name of Gayatri's mantras found in which of the following scriptures? Rig Vedas. Who composed the Gayatri mantra? Vishwamitra. Sarga, Pratisarga, Vansas, Mantras and Vishnu Charitras are the indicator of Vedas, Puranas, Upanishad, Sutras. Puranas. Who composed Gayatri mantra? Vishwamitra. Puranas. Puranas have 5 characters like Sargas, Pratisargas, Vansa, Manvantaras and Vishnu Charitras. Among these, Sarga and Pratisargas are the natural creations and renovations, cosmogonies. Vansa means the history of sage and gods. Manvantara is meant for the period of the different manas, and Vishnu Charitra means genealogy of the kings. The number of Purana is 18. Option B, 18. Purans are the sacred literatures of Hinduism. There are 18 Purans, namely Matsya Puran, Markandeya Purans, Bhagavad Puran, Bhavishya Purans, Brahmanda Purans, Brahma Vetrya Purans, Brahma Purans, Vamana Purans, Varaha Purans, Vishnu Purans, Vayu Purans, Agni Purans, Narada Purans, Padma Purans, Linga Purans, Garuda Purans, Skanda Purans, Kurma Purans. Out of these 18 Purans, Srimad Bhagavad is considered as the crown jewels of all the Vedic literatures. With reference to the Purans, which one of the following statement is correct? Information about the Mauryan dynasty is found in Vishnu Purans. Vishnu Purans throw the light on the Gupta's governance systems. So both information about the Mauryan dynasty is found in Vishnu Puran. And Vishnu Purans throw lights on the Gupta's governance system. Vishnu Purans give the accounts of Mauryan dynasty. Vishnu Purans is related to Gupta dynasty and Matsya Purans is related to Andhra Satvahana dynasties. In which language was Srimad Bhagavad Gita was originally written in Sanskrit? Srimad Bhagavad was originally written in the Sanskrit language, often referred in the short as Gitas. There are 700 verses in the Hindu scriptures, and this is the part of the epic Mahabharata. Originally, Mahabharata was known as Brihat Katha Brahmins, Brihat Samhita, Jaya Samhita. Mahabharata originally had 8,800 slokas and it was originally known as Jaya Samhita. Mahabharata's today's 100,000 slokas, and it is believed to be written by the sage of Ved Vyas. Ved Vyas, Mahabharata. Ved Vyas is written in Sanskrit language, and originally the Mahabharata is known as Jaya Samhita. The Satasashri Samhitas is the nickname of which of the following texts? Rig Vedas, Atharva Vedas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Shastrasharshi Samhita. D. Mahabharata. According to Hindus mythologies, which serpent offered himself as a roe for churning the oceans? Vashukis. The churning of the ocean's milk, Kshirshagar, was an elaborate process. Mount Mandaras and Mount Mandars Parvat was used as churning rods, and Vashukis, the king of serpents who abides of Shiva's necks, become the churning ropes. Lord Vishnu, in the form of Kurma avatar, come to their rescue and supports the mount on his backs. In which phase the concept of untouchability was put clearly. Dharmasastra phase. The concept of untouchability assumed definite shapes in the early Christian eras, which was the period known as era of Dharmasastras in ancient history. During the periods the Brahmanical religions was ascendance, various scriptures were being written, and the social customs of different types were practiced strictly, and untouchability was one of them. From which Upanishads the word Satyameva Jayate had been taken. Mundaka Upanishads. The word Satyameva Jayate was a Sanskrit word taken from the Mundaka Upanishads. The meanings of the words is truth alone triumphs. It was adopted as the national motto of India. It is inscribed in the scripts at the base of the national emblems on January 26, 1950. It was adopted by the government of India. From the word Satyameva Jayate is taken Mundaka Upanishads. Satyameva Jayate, which was engraved on the Indian emblems, has been taken from Mundaka Upanishad. The statements Tasmo Sva Jyotirgamaya was originally mentioned in Upanishads. The statement Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya is originally mentioned Brihadyanka Upanishad. This statement means lead us darkness to light or lead us from ignorance to truth. The literary meanings of which Upanishads is the white horse. Katha Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Asphonita Upanishad. None of these Upanishads is given option. Literally means the white horses. Shvetasvatara Upanishad is an ancient Sanskrit text embedded in the Yajurveda. Shvetasvatara literally means carried a white horse. The legends of Satyakam Jabals, which challenge the stigmas of being unmarried mothers, is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad. Satyakama Jabala as a boy and later a Vedic sage whose first appears in chapter 4 of ancient Hindu text. The Chandogya Upanishad challenged the stigmas of unmarried mothers. Fundamental or basic script of Rig Vedas was Brahmi. The basic scripts of Rig Vedas was Brahmi. The works on the script of Bhashas is said to have been started by Brahmas thousands of years. The script was known after him as the Brahmi script. The Rig Vedas is divided into 10 mandals. which consist 1028 suktas and 10,552 mantras. According to Patanjali, there are 21 branches of the Rig Vedas. The priest of the Rig Vedas is called Hota. कहाँ चला गया? 94 क्वेश्चन होगा था. 95. In the Vedic rituals, Hota is associated with Rig Vedas. See his explanations. The basic script of Rig Vedas was Brahmi. The work on the script of Bhasa is said to have been started by Brahmas. For 1,000 years, the script was known after him as Brahmi script. The Rig Vedas is divided into 10 mantras, which consist 1028 suktas and 10,552 mantras. According to Patanjali, there are 21 branches of the Rig Vedas. The priests of the Rig Vedas were called Hotas. In the Vedic rituals, Hota is associated with Rig Vedas. There is a similarities in Avestas and Rig Vedas, from which regions the Avestas is related to the Irans. According to the definitions given about the Aryans, the Indo-Iranian groups whose members composed to Zoroastrian scripture as Avestas and the Hindus scriptures such as Vedas call themselves Aryans. So it is clear that in the Vedic period it was the regions of the present day Iran where Zoroastrianism prevailed and Avestas was written by the Zoroastrians. Which of the following animals was considered as Aghanya during the Vedic periods? Cow. It was the cow which considers Aghanyas during the Vedic period. Aghanyas means not worthy to being killed. The traces of cow shows bias. It is considered during the Vedic period. Aghanyas is in the Rig Vedas mentioned cow. The name Aghanya is mentioned in many passages of the Rig Vedas refer to cows. With reference to the difference between the cultures of the Rig Vedas, Aryans and Indus Valley peoples, which of the following statements are correct? Rig Vedic Aryans used coat of mails and helmets in warfares, whereas the peoples of the Indus Valley civilizations did not leave any evidence of using them. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silvers, coppers, whereas Indus Valley peoples knew only coppers and irons. Rig Vedic Aryans had domesticated the horse, whereas there is no evidence of Indus Valley peoples having been aware of these animals. First only. Coats of the males and helmets made of golds and irons is mentioned in the Rig Veda. Possibly they were used in the warfares. Indus Valley peoples were lacking in weapons and were possibly ruled by the class of merchant. Indus Valley civilization did not leave any evidence using weapons. Therefore, statement 1 is correct. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, copper. Indus Valley peoples knew only copper and bronze. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, copper. Indus Valley peoples knew only copper and bronze. Thus, the use of iron spread in North India between 10,000 to 600 BC. Their statement 2 is wrong. Rig Vedic owes their success in India's to their use of horse and chariots, and recently a site of Bhagwanpura has been excavated in the Haryanas of the Rig Vedic period, where horse bones have also been found. Evidence of the horse comes from the superficial levels of Mohenjo-daros and from a doubtful terracotta figurines from Lothus. Therefore, statement 3 is also wrong. So the correct option A is A. In the early Vedic period, what was considered to be the most valuable property is cow. Cattle breeding was the most important economic activities in the Vedic peoples. Prayers were offered to increase the number of cattle. In the medium of exchange, the cow is considered as a deity in the some suktas of the Rig Vedas. Nice list 1 and list 2. Indus Valley Civilization, Later Vedic Societies, Rig Vedic Society, Medieval Period. Indus Valley Civilizations. इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन एक अर्बन सिविलाइजेशन थी, ठीक है. लेटर वैदिक सिविलाइजेशंस, लेटर वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन एग्रीगेरियन सिविलाइजेशन, और एक वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन पेस्टोरियल सिविलाइजेशन और मेडिवल लैंडलॉर्डलिज्म्स. इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन अर्बन सिविलाइजेशन थी. वैदिक के बाद लेटर वैदिक एग्रीगेरियन और पेस्टोरल. वैदिक in the context of the ancient societies, which of the following terms does not belong to the category of other three? Kula, Koshas, Gotra, Vansas. Kul, Kosha, Vansas. So option D is not belongs. In the context of Indian society, Vansa, Gotra and Kulas were associated with family system, but Kosas is related to treasury. So option T is not belongs to Kula, Vansa, Gotra. Kosa treasury tha. What is the total number of sanskara? 16. There are total 16 sanskaras that has been described. 3 performed before the birth, 12 during the life, 12 during the life, and 1 after death. It seems that Upnayan Sanskar is the most important and commonly performed beside of the course, wedding ceremony and the rituals after death. The teachers who taught Vedangas for livelihoods called Acharya, Adhvari, Upadhyay, Purohitopadhyay. Upadhyay was one who adopted teachings as professions to earn livelihood and taught only a portions of the Vedangas. So friends, लगभग वीडियो 1 घंटे की हो गई और हमारा जो वैदिक के PYQs थे, वैदिक एज के PYQs थे, वो सारे कंप्लीट हो गए. और नेक्स्ट वीडियो में आपको बुद्धिज़्म के बारे में मिलेगा. सो फ्रेंड, प्लीज़ like, share and subscribe the channels. Thank you.